And we brought in a system from Copper to realize the road that comes from Calabar about 39 kilometers, complete with street light. If you move on it, you would think you are going into heaven. And so the problem then would have been the flood that would have destroyed the road. So we brought a system of underground drainage system where from one central reservoir, major pipes that you can drive a car through, drive your bikes through, are going round and passing through buildings 40 feet below houses without the knowledge of the owners of those houses. And immediately after the rain, the whole area is deflooded. So that has already been commissioned. It was commissioned about 2 weeks ago by the vice president, and it is working. And at the end of the discharge drain, you will now see that you can put a turbine and it will produce electricity because of the force of the water that comes out in a controlled fashion. It's such a technology that is the first in Africa. They call it pipe jacking system. It costs us a lot of money, over 14 billion, but it's completed, and you need to see it working. And so I made a joke to my colleague. I said, while Lagos is working, the citizens are swimming. Come to Akwa Ibom said and see a system that can assist Lagos and assist other areas that have flood problems. So,
all these projects, gigantic, they need so much in terms of revenue to drive. I don't know what your resources are in terms of internally generated revenue and the major things that bring the economy as buoyant as it should be.
Yes. You know, Akwa Ibom is one of the derivation states in the Federation. And of course, in the past, before I became a governor, the Nigerians used to complain that so much money is going into the Niger Delta, but so little is seen on the ground. So I thank God that in 4 years I've reversed that trend, and people are saying the government is taking on so much, where will they get the money to pay? We'll manage with the resources we have at hand. It is important for people to see the value of their money. I can tell you what has happened in the last 4 years. In the last 4 years, my capital expenditure in the budget is had been about 80% on the average. And then recurrent expenditure 20%. How many governments can achieve that? So we are putting more in capital expenditure than in recurrent expenditure. So I can't be a good friend of old politicians because things are no longer the way they used to be. You know, that question of sharing and all that will not be there. So if you hear people complaining in Akwa Ibom, it's not the small people on the street, because they're excited about the fact that 1,400 communities now have light that never had light. I met 2,700 villages on the ground. Only 1,062 were connected to the national grid. In 4 years, we have given light to 1,400 communities, and I have less than 205 communities left. And I've challenged my people that by 2012 ending, all communities in Akwa Ibom would have been connected to the national grid. And that will be the first state in the Federation to do so. And I tell people the statistics. The statistics are very clear. The average electricity coverage in Nigeria is 19%. Then in Africa is 5%. That's why they call Africa the dark continent. But in Akwa Ibom, I've raised it to 85%, and I'm shooting for 100% before I leave office. So a lot of the things we are doing here, we are managing according to the resources that come in, and we're also trying to improve the internally generated revenue. It's not, you know, it's a civil service state. We don't have a lot of industries yet. We used to receive about 300 to 400 million a month when I came from internally generated revenue, but IGR now gives us about 1.5 billion, and we sometimes 1.7. We are shooting for at least 2 billion before the end of this month, or before the end of this year. So we believe that we will go hand in hand with the internally generated revenue. We'll manage what comes from the center. But the beauty of it all is that in some communities, you don't need as much as 10 million naira to change their lives. You know, if you go into a community that have been drinking water from the stream, and you do a small borehole of 5 million naira, it will stop waterborne diseases. It will change the lives of those children. It will prolong lives. But this is what people did not know. And so what we have done in that respect is that we've done about 3,000 projects in the state. There is no community, there is no single local government in Akwa Ibom that does not have at least 75 completed projects from this administration. And that is where human empowerment comes in. We farm out those projects and of course share them to politicians so that people can also have a taste of government, while the big jobs are given to first-class construction companies. And the first time they are working in Akwa Ibom since 1960, companies like Jula Bega, this is the first time they are coming here. Because I believe you want to build a 5-star infrastructure, you must go with a 5-star construction company. The entire government lodge you are seeing, I stayed in my house for the first 2 years, brought down the old government lodge that was dilapidated and in a very terrible condition, and we erected all you are seeing here, brand new in 1 year, 4 months. We are finishing a brand new banquet hall, a state banquet hall of international standard, right there in front there for people to come and see. There's a lot of things in Akwa Ibom that you need to look at. And I don't like to boast. We just built and completed a secondary school and handed over to the Nigerian police because I believe in the unity of this country. And I went to a federal government college, and I think we should encourage unity colleges because that will make you to have a detribalized disposition towards life and also make Nigerians to come together. If you listen to me on AIT a few weeks ago, I said something that a lot of Nigerians have been calling me to ask me whether it is true. I said, if you study northern Nigeria and then study the evolution of all the riots and religious